Hello and welcome to Movie of the Year 1997. Can you believe it? I am your host, Greg. Joining me is my best friend, Taylor T. Money Taylorson. How you doing, buddy?
Boo.
That's me. Yeah, you know what? That's fine.
That was just the crowd.
That's fine, because I'm not here to make friends.
Wow.
I'm here to win.
So far, you have made one best friend and 0 additional friends. Challenger, Ryan. Hello, Ryan. How you doing?
Yay.
Oh,
we
got
love
much
him.
warmer reception from the crowd.
I love that. The crowd is full, and it all sounds like me, and I love that about the crowd.
We film in front of a live studio audience of 5,000, as everybody knows, but usually they remain extremely quiet, but occasionally they will sometimes make a little bit of noise.
And the weird thing about our studio audience, it's the same one that was there for all in the Family. So they're older. Like, it's hard for them to laugh, but they're there, and we appreciate it.
You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. We are coming together today as a podcast to pick the 8 movies that we will cover in Movie of the Year 1997.
This is the most important day of my season, I guess. We've awarded 3 movies at this point, Movie of the Year.
Yeah.
But awarding it's no big deal. It's
No.
picking, like, we're deciding the next, 3 months of our lives right now.
This part is very hard, and we lop off a bunch of movies right off the bat. If you are a Patreon listener of ours, first of all, thank you. You mean the world to us, not like the rest of these garbage people. Just kidding. The rest of you are garbage people. But if you are not a Patreon listener, you missed us eliminating the first 16 movies, which is just incredible, or with the first 16 matchups.
And harder than I thought. Not hard, but harder than I thought.
It got interesting. It got interesting. So what we have left over for the first round that we're doing tonight are the top 16 movies as made it through the original round.
The top 32 were decided by Letterboxd. The top 16 decided by us.
Decided by these guys. When we come back, we are going to jump right into it, guys. Our first matchup of the second round is number 1 overall seed, Titanic, versus number 16 seed, and the host with the most, this guy right here, his pick, Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion.
Greg, are you giving out points tonight? Like, are you picking a new best friend?
No, but I bet you could do things that would shade your points in the next round. I want to hold on to a little bit of that power for myself.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is, like, the last episode, the Patreon episode, was a bunch of slam dunks. I gotta say, like, this is the biggest movie, one of the 3 biggest movies of all time, versus a movie that is talked about 10 times as much.
This movie was so big in 97, and honestly, like, just for, like, observing meme culture, still a huge part of, like, our understanding. A funny story about this movie, in 1997, I was in line with my parents to see it, and, like, the line was out the door.
For Romy and Michelle? For
Titanic. And somebody walked up and asked if we were in line for, like, the Horse Whisperer. It's like, no, we're trying to see, like, the biggest movie of all time. And she was like, oh, okay. I think my movie's over there. I loved Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion. It was weird before that was considered a legitimate stylistic choice. I think it prepared us for a lot of things that would happen in culture. Our mainstream culture now is so weird, and I think it owes in part to Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion. I mean, there's a big dance number, which now you're not allowed to make a movie or a TV show without a big dance number.
Hashtag me too.
It is absolutely surreal through, like, a lot of the moments of it. The way
it's Alan Cumming, right? Isn't he the one that comes back and dances with them?
I believe so.
I love that man.
But
I love Romy and Michelle too
up
because
against Titanic.
It is up against Titanic, but Romy and Michelle probably could have maybe cast the 2 biggest actresses at the time, whoever they were, and we'll probably get into that throughout the season. But they cast these 2 weirdos, and because, like, that's automatically going to elevate the script if you cast Mira Sorvino and Lisa Kudrow instead of, like, Cameron Diaz and Cameron Diaz. You know?
And you're getting some quality Kudrow here. You're getting a lot of Kudrow for your buck.
Some quality Garofalo,
some quality Dro,
some nice Dro. Well, guys, I'm gonna call for it.
Is it like, can we do 97 without Titanic?
I don't think that we can, unfortunately.
It would be, this is what I'm afraid of. I think that's the kind of thing that if we do it, it feels like we're really trying to do something. I love Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion, maybe it will be the bonus movie that we do. Like when we did 88, we did Midnight Run as a bonus movie for that for our Patreon listeners. But it's just you're really gonna like take down the biggest movie of a decade.
And I can see that show, like the Titanic show. Like we're talking about like I mean, this is an incredibly directed movie.
Yeah.
What is this? How does this reflect on like the class system in 2019? Is Kate Winslet just the best in everything?
Was there room on that door? I feel like a lot of people have weighed in over the years about whether or not there's room on the door at the
Oh,
end.
I'll have some shit to say when we get to that section.
As Paul F. Tompkins has said, is it weird they fucked in a car on a boat? That's
No.
double vehicle sex?
Oh my God. I've never heard anybody else say that, but they are on the most luxurious boat of their time,
And then
they go into the back seat of a car to bang.
Poor people got a backseat.
We are 100% going to talk about that if we talk about Titanic. Taylor, what do you think moves on?
I think Titanic moves on.
Ryan, what do you think moves on?
I'm like, it sucks to lose Romeo and Michelle, but I think Titanic moves on.
I think it's as close as it could possibly be,
Yeah.
but I just can't envision
We're
a
all
world.
begrudgingly voting for Titanic.
Yeah,
But again, we do have a Patreon-only episode at the end where we could talk about Midnight Run. I think we should do that show again.
another Midnight
Yeah,
Run.
right.
The TV show. That was the sequel. Next matchup is the number 8 overall seed versus the number 9 overall seed. 8 is LA Confidential. 9 is Hercules.
Wow.
In the Patreon episode, when Hercules made it on, it very much felt like, oh, good for you, Hercules. That's going to be the very end of the line for you. Anything you guys want to say about Hercules before we send her on out?
It's got a lot of good musical numbers. I like those.
Very interesting soundtrack
Yeah.
that they went with for this.
It is better than the Disney movie Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
I-
Hercules is better than that.
I
No?
don't
Wow.
know. Atlantis: The Lost Empire was a pretty big part of my childhood.
That's a pretty dope movie.
But-
this was the first movie that showed us that James Woods is the actual devil.
Yeah.
We take it for granted now, but back then it was revelatory.
I do have to give this movie props as well for being the first Disney movie in my recollection where they were like, what if we just made like this cartoon character like really like obscenely sexy in a way that is very uncomfortable?
It's James Woods and then also Danny DeVito. Just basically plays Danny DeVito. Like,
Oh, yeah.
This is like the Robin Williams. I don't know. Just let them go do their thing.
Also, something that I always liked, I never saw Hercules, but something I always thought was kind of fun is like if you know anything about the story of Hercules, you know that like he's going to kill that woman in the movie with his bare hands and their 2 kids in a fit of rage brought on by Hera. So like that's kind of just like fun, you know, like
Yeah.
what they do at the end like 10 years later, and it's just like, well, actually, funny you should mention it. Hercules kills his family with his bare hands.
But
All
it's
right. Then he does his labors. Everybody have a good night.
It's also how LA Confidential ends. So we're going to get it either way.
We are going to get it either way. Ryan, what do you think should move on?
It's going to be very difficult for you two to like talk me out of LA Confidential not winning the whole damn thing.
Can I just say I am prepared for both LA Confidential? Well, just for LA Confidential, I am prepared for you to say this is the perfect movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prepared for you to say that at least one time.
Yeah,
during
that's
that
going to
show.
happen.
And I will say a lot of things like its flaws lead into its
Yeah.
perfection, you know?
I like
Yeah.
that.
It's weird that there's no cartoon bunny, but I'm ready to deal with that.
Taylor, what do you think should move on?
I think LA Confidential.
I think it's pretty clear that LA Confidential is moving on. In fact, it's weird to me that they're the 8th and 9th seeds
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it feels like
That
they
seems
should be
strange.
separated
1
by
and 32?
quite a bit. When we come back, we're going to get to the next round of matchups. Our next matchup is number 4, Boogie Nights versus number 20. 420? What? Face Off.
You pothead. This one really sucks.
This one
like
hurts.
it hurts to send Romeo and Michelle away, but like I wish Face Off could make the top 8.
Come on, Face Off. Come on. You
Like
can
we're
do
cheering
it.
for it.
Can't-
Like,
Yeah,
you
come
can-
on.
Can I say one thing I'm excited about losing Face Off? There is a part where it looks like the bad guy is the good guy, which you guys are probably familiar with. That's the
Yeah.
premise of Face Off. So the bad guy is in the good guy's house, and he's like, hey, look, you've got an attractive teenage daughter. And the movie
Tastes like a peach.
the movie makes you deal with that for like 3 minutes.
Oh.
And it's a really long 3 minutes where this girl is kind of like, is my dad giving me vibes? And you guys, like, that might have been the beginning of something in culture that I hope we are like almost on the other side of, which is like, incest is not hot. Please stop putting it in stuff. Even implied incest like this, it's really gross to watch these 2 characters in that scene.
I don't want it.
Yeah, right? Like, I
So
don't
you hate
need
Boogie
that.
Nights, but you have to begrudgingly vote for it so as to not watch Face Off. The other thing I like about Face Off is that before Face Off, Nicolas Cage and John Travolta were like two of the top tier, always nominated actors. And then John Woo was like, no, what? That's ridiculous. And then really showed how hammy and stupid these two guys were. And it was magnificent.
It's a fun movie. I mean,
I do enjoy Face Off.
it reminds it feels kind of like inspired by those movies of '88 that we covered last season, where it's just a lot of big stupid action and a lot of like funny jokes, a lot of like just leaning into how stupid the premise is. You can't just hack off somebody's face and put it on the skull of another person,
just so everyone knows.
and then they look exactly like that.
If it wasn't for Face Off, we wouldn't have Fast and the Furious, and we wouldn't have This Is Us. Like, it really gave birth to both of those things.
It gave us both of those things. Boogie Nights, this will be our second P.T. Anderson movie.
The first one was Magnolia, and
Yeah.
I feel like it was rocky. It was like it wasn't beloved.
It wasn't. You loved it.
I did.
And I loved talking about it, but I felt like it didn't perform as well as we might have. The one thing, though, that I took away from that movie was, as an older man than when I had seen it originally, was that was maybe like a 28-year-old dude.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty good. It was pretty good, like, for being 28 when you made it. This movie, though, no one disputes that this is, like, a great movie, right?
Some people argue this is his best movie.
Yeah.
I disagree, but it is dope. I love Boogie Nights.
Is any part of you guys excited to watch a movie about porn?
Yes.
Yeah.
About porn.
Yeah. It's gonna be some boobs right in it.
There's no stepmoms in this porno.
No, because nobody had thought, like, people hadn't thought to do that yet. Or there
Yeah.
might be, like, some porn that was a little bit like that.
They're not creative yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of shit talking on this movie. I think that like people think it's cool to say Boogie Nights is not that good, but I think that if we were to watch it right now, do a show about it, which seems like it's going to happen, then we will have some shit to say. But ultimately, like, it's kind of a tour de force. Like, there's so much going on.
It's the movie that taught me roller skates are very hot.
Yeah.
Thank you, movie. I had no idea. I just thought they were boots with wheels on them. But no, apparently they're somehow sexual. And now I know that, and I will know that forever. Taylor, what do you think should move on?
Oh, it's Boogie Nights.
Ryan?
Boogie Nights.
Congratulations, Boogie Nights. The next matchup is number 5, Jackie Brown, versus number 12, The Game. This feels like a tough draw for The Game.
Yeah.
I feel like I could see a world where The Game snuck into the actual shows, but I don't see a world where it hops over Jackie Brown. To me, a very low seating at 5.
We just want all of these movies that we love to go against Hercules.
Yeah.
That would have been wonderful.
Yes.
I think my enthusiasm for so many of these movies is because I was in high school when they came out. But Jackie Brown, dude.
That's for me. These are both movies that I have heard very good things about, but I haven't seen either of them.
Because of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood coming out, everybody's been ranking Quentin Tarantino
Yeah.
movies, and it seems like there's two camps: people who rate Jackie Brown number 1, or idiots. Like, it feels like these people get very pissed when you don't clearly see that Jackie Brown is his best movie, and I think it's because if you have issues with Tarantino, this is the one time like he pulls back and makes an awesome movie.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And I have to say, I like The Game, but I am sorry to see it go. I don't know if there's a ton we could add to like anybody's understanding of The Game. Like, are there a bunch of extra layers there?
And Fincher will have a shot on some season of ours. The Game is not going to be it.
The Game is not going to be the one. So Taylor, what do you think should move on?
I think probably Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown.
All right, Jackie Brown, congratulations. I cannot wait. All the winners we're saying this time. Every time we say a winner, that's a movie that we're watching.
Right.
That's a show that
Yes.
we're making. That's exciting. Like, Jackie Brown was always going to be one of these movies, but I am so looking forward to that week.
Yeah, in the Patreon show, like, we would move a movie ahead and be like, who cares?
It
Doesn't matter.
meant nothing, yeah.
But if we move a movie ahead now, we're doing it,
We're
dude.
actually doing it. It's actually happening. When we come back, even more matchups actually happening. In our next matchup, I want you guys to think very hard about what it is we do on this show.
Fuck.
Okay? And what we mean to create with this, our most important art. It's number 2, Good Will Hunting, versus number 19, Gattaca. So
Okay.
Gattaca was an upset in the first round,
Okay.
and now it's going against Good Will Hunting.
How stringently do we need to be stewards of
The show that we do?
Yeah.
Very hard. Like, Good Will Hunting is a huge movie that people still talk about. So people are asking, like, I have these apples. What do you think of them?
Good Will
Like,
Hunting changed Hollywood, right? Like it
Yeah.
changed movies. It gave us not just two like mega stars.
to this day, we will begrudgingly go to see Matt Damon or Ben Affleck movies, but really all we want is the two of them together.
But and also like it kind of like brought on like this era of the indie, or like brought more attention to like more indie-ish movies, right? Young filmmakers kind of doing it on their own.
Yeah, and going to film festivals, and that's the way that you might make it is because it was that one guy,
Yeah.
Harvey, what's his name, Weinstein, who
Yeah.
did it. But some bigwig with a cigar in the back could make you a star overnight.
So
Well, I will do this. How about this? I will be willing to put Gattaca into the Patreon only list, and like maybe we might do that as the Patreon if like because Gattaca can't move on, can it?
I don't think it can move on over Good Will Hunting. I just think it's a dereliction of duty if we can't because we got a temporary hard on for Gattaca push it over a movie that like had way more of a cultural imprint.
We're basically like Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon, just chanting over and over, Gattaca, Gattaca.
That's I feel like we do have a duty to do
Please stop
to
it.
put Good Will Hunting forward. But if you ask me which of these movies I actually want to watch, it is absolutely not Good Will Hunting.
Let me ask you this: do you guys think that if you out of 4 stars, do you guys think that if you watch Good Will Hunting right now, you would give it 2.5 or lower? Like, do you think it might be a bad movie?
No, I think that it has some rough patches and it bears the hallmarks of young filmmakers and people who hadn't fully seen the world and understood it yet. But people who were very empathetic and had high emotional intelligence and did see things well ahead of their years. So I think it's a mixed bag.
And you know what's cool about it? Because it's the late 90s. Grosse Point Blank got booted. My pick got booted in the last episode. And one of the reasons that's a bummer is because of Minnie Driver. She's just the best. She's in Good Will Hunting. And she really saves every scene she's in.
But I think Gattaca would give us a lot to chew on. But if you said to most people, like, yo, you remember that movie from 97, Gattaca? They'd be like, what? And a big factor of what we do is not just pick the single best movie made, but there has to be some 97-ness, and Good Will Hunting beats Gattaca in that. And it has to have some timelessness. And obviously, pop culture has weighed in. Good Will Hunting has that over Gattaca.
Right.
That is fair.
If we watch Good Will Hunting and hate it, that's fine. But,
yeah.
But I would also say I don't think that we have John Wick today without Gattaca.
Whoa, explain.
Because, I mean, a lot of Gattaca involved that sort of like that sort of style of fighting and action. Like the action in Gattaca is very John Wickian.
Yeah.
And I think like when they were deciding to make John Wick, they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's go back to Gattaca because that movie fucking ruled and no one talks about it.
And there were so few near future sci-fi movies. And there were, like, as we've talked about recently, so few sci-fi movies at all.
Plus, all the near future or far future sci-fi movies were like, everything's bullshit. Nothing matters. And this one was like, no, but what if this was the actual near future?
Yeah. So I like the idea that it gets put into that same pen of movies that we might do for our bonus show. I don't think it's even going to make it through that effectively, but, you know, I guess the point we're trying to make is people should check out Gattaca because it's a very interesting, slow burn, philosophical movie about, like, the future for that movie, Gattaca, it feels much more close to the present than it did back then.
Another thing I've noticed with all the movies that we pick is that, like, the one thing that almost everything has in common is that it's like popcorn. But is it? And Gattaca definitely has that. You know, it's like a cool thriller, but maybe you have a conversation about it afterwards.
Yeah. All right. Well, Taylor, what do you think should move forward?
I think it should be Good Will Hunting.
Ryan.
Good Will Hunting.
Congratulations, Good Will Hunting.
That's an episode now. That we're gonna watch it.
We are
All
officially
right.
going to watch Good Will Hunting. Next is the number 7 seed, The Fifth Element, versus the number 23 seed, Contact.
Oh damn!
God damn, you guys! I want Contact to move on so bad.
This worked out real raw for Contact, it feels like.
Oh really? I was gonna say the reverse. But if we're losing Gattaca, at least we have 2 more non-IP sci-fis that are battling it out.
I think whichever one of these moves forward, I am happy. But I think there's an obvious choice for which one is slightly better and holds up better.
It's interesting because
I
they
don't
are
think that's
both
true.
sci-fi. I feel like they have like the same kind of audience, but they're handling the material very differently. You know, Contact is for your more down-to-earth nerds.
Yes.
And Fifth Element is for your, like, real pop culture. Fifth Element almost feels like an MCU movie before the MCU. You know, this really lush, vibrant color palette, a lot of action, a lot of intrigue. But Contact is so deliberate, but in a way that's not slow.
Yeah.
It just keeps...
Yeah, if we watched it now, would it be boring?
No, I don't
No,
think so.
I watched it a few years ago and kept me the whole way through.
It's so compelling. It's almost like that movie The Martian.
Yeah.
There's just every step that the movie takes is like pulls you in just a little bit closer. Does it maybe fall apart at the end a little bit? Potentially.
Yeah.
I think it was a hard story to draw to a conclusion.
And also it's got Matthew McConaughey as like a priest scientist.
Does he play Jodie Foster?
Yes, Matthew McConaughey as Jodie Foster.
As Nell in Contact.
I
also think it's two... Well, we thought these were going to be two Steven Spielbergs as far as the directors go. And then they just disappeared. And these were two hits. But people didn't want their stuff anymore. It was Luc Besson who did the
Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, yes.
And then, so he's the one that did Fifth Element, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Robert Zemeckis, who was clearly going to be our next Spielberg.
Yeah.
And then just sort of went away.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because he was also Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
He framed Roger Rabbit.
How does a guy, in every shot, he did it.
Yeah.
How does a guy like that go away? It's so funny.
He just Charles Grodin'd into the ether.
Steve Gutenberg'd away. Valerian so obviously draws on the same visual vocabulary as the Fifth Element. You almost don't even need to be told that they're made by the same guy.
Usually I like to come at you guys screaming and declaring that you only use racial slurs so I can win. I don't know. I think both of these are important. I think that they would both make great shows. I think is my Bruce Willis-ness winning me over?
This is a nice Bruce Willis role for sure.
Yeah.
It feels like two different sides of the same coin. You know, do you want something thought-provoking or do you want something fun? Well, it's never easy, gentlemen. Never easy.
I think this is the toughest one so far.
But Taylor, I am going to go to you first. What's it going to be, The Fifth Element or Contact? Speak from your heart.
I'm going to say The Fifth Element.
Haha, I'm saying Contact, Greg.
Oh, that is a very rude thing to do.
Greg, which one do you want to pick? Which one's going on? Which one do you want to watch?
Oh, you guys.
Which one do you want to watch and talk about?
It's really hard, you guys. I want to watch and talk about Contact.
Yeah! I'm sorry. I know that I voted for Fifth Element. I'm so excited that we're going to talk about Contact.
We're just going to have so much more fun talking about that than The Fifth Element. We're going to have more fun. We would have more fun watching The Fifth Element.
Yes.
We're going to have way more fun talking about Contact.
And I think we should move it up to the first movie that we do, just so we watch every other movie through that Contact lens.
Okay, you know
when
what?
we come back,
I take it. Can we put Fifth Element in?
When we come back, Ryan is off the podcast. Our next matchup is the number 3 seed, Princess Mononoke, versus the number 19, Starship Troopers.
I feel like I'm going to get a bunch of emails and shit if I go against Princess Mononoke, but Starship Troopers, man, I really want to do.
Starship Troopers is a movie that I enjoy, but I feel like it is a little bit pulpy, over the top. Like, there is more intense stuff underneath it, and we could talk a lot about it, but I feel like Princess Mononoke is gonna be, like, it's one that I've heard referenced as one of the best Ghibli films that they've ever put out. I don't know that we can, in good conscience, put Starship Troopers over, but...
Well, either way, we're going to be racist against Asians or racist against Brazilians.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
There's so many of them. Like, probably at least a Brazilian.
2 or 3 Brazilian,
maybe. 2 or 3 Brazilian. I feel like, in the case of this one, either one of these is going to be a good show. In the last round, ultimately, for me, what made Contact win out over Fifth Element is I imagined the Contact show, and I thought, I'm so much more interested in that show than I am the Fifth Element show. That's not the case here. I think that there is a lot about Starship Troopers that's pulpy, but I think that, like you kind of alluded to, that's an attempt to do something.
Yeah.
This whole thing is shot like a propaganda film or like a propaganda poster, but really it's questioning the things it seems to be celebrating, and I think the book was as well. And we could maybe, if we do the show about Starship Troopers, talk about the book a little bit, which is kind of bonkers. If you
The
can
book
believe it or
based
not,
on the movie?
watching the novelization of the hit movie. I really enjoyed dipping our toe into Japanese cinema for our 88
Yeah.
season.
That's
Akira blew me away. Obviously, like Taylor and I loved Akira, Ryan not so much. But the movie that really like surprised me with how much I liked it was Spirited Away.
Totoro?
Totoro.
I
That's
think-
what I meant to say. The movie that we actually did.
I think Akira
It's about
was,
spirits.
Yeah.
Akira was an interesting movie and an interesting show. I don't think it like gels like a lot of these like movie of the year winners do. But Totoro is an old timer like that, and it was one of the few like big Ghibli movies that I haven't seen, and I've never seen a bad one. There's no like stinker, you know. This is Mononoke is the only movie of our Sweet 16 that I have not seen. So
I think that is really weighing on me too. I have also not seen it,
Right.
and I really want to rectify that. And it's fun to do it for the podcast.
Yeah, that's. I think the thing that is a lot pushing on me is what Greg said, which is I am very into this Japanese animation.
and also
from
he's
last
literally
season.
pushing you right now.
Yeah.
Right? That's not fair
Is
when you're
that
trying
weird?
to vote.
No,
Should I
I'm
not
fine
be
with
doing
it.
that?
No, I'm good with it.
Little Chevys.
But also, like, this is a movie that I have not seen, and I feel like even if we don't select it, I'm going to watch this movie. I've seen Starship Troopers enough, and I'm like, all right.
If
Yeah.
we choose Mononoke, can we put Starship Troopers on the 12 or 13 movie long Patreon
Yeah,
list?
the one that we're going to have a Patreon show where we do a bracket of the movies that we put in the Patreon.
We're going to do a
only.
Patreon season.
Wait, that's a good idea. We need way more Patreon content, guys. They're paying so much money.
And you know what? We thank them for it.
They're awesome.
It's not like these absolute crumb bums that just come and take everything for free like little greedy guesses.
Also, it costs $1 to not be a crumb bum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Join the Patreon. Don't be a crumb bum.
And you can give that to me directly if you see me on the street. You can just hand me that $1. We'll have no problem with that. Well, guys, I do think it's time to vote. Ryan, what are you going to vote forward?
I am. I'm going to go with my heart,
Yeah, you got to listen to your heart. It's going to tell you what to do.
and I'm going to just sort of know where the room's going anyway. So I'm going to say Starship Troopers.
Taylor?
I am going to say Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, I do like the world where we do the Starship Troopers show.
I do too.
But it's kind of fun to have a movie that is big but that I haven't seen in the bracket. And I just have a really good feeling about it because of that studio and because of how much those movies,
And
that
she's
movie.
got that big ass wolf.
And she's got a huge
There's
wolf.
such a big wolf.
It's such a big
I
wolf.
love a girl with a big wolf.
That's it.
Gregory.
Listen,
Just make me feel so safe.
I know that you can't really like say that out loud in 2019, but I appreciate you being honest.
You know
about
what?
that.
I want her to have a good personality. I want her to have a sense of humor. All that stuff, obviously. If she's got a big old wolf, that's not going to hurt one bit.
love a girl with a big old wolf.
With a big old wolf. Our last matchup of this round is Men in Black, the number 6 seed, versus Austin Powers, the number 22 seed.
How could so many of these others have been
This
so
is bullshit.
It is bullshit.
Like these two ended up against each other. One of these makes it in.
We do this bracket format because it creates a lot of interesting choices that we have to make.
And hatred towards each other.
And this is one of them. So one of these movies is one of the final 8. I like both of these movies.
I think Men in Black could make a great show. I
Yes.
would love if Men in Black and Austin Powers were up against like 13 other movies that we have.
Right.
out
There's
here.
so many movies on this list. I'm like, fuck.
Either one of the movies from either of the losing movies from the last like 3 matchups.
Yeah.
Maybe even 4 cuz the Game losing to Jackie Brown. I think the Game could have taken either one of these movies. I will say this. They both left big franchises because they were so individually successful that Hollywood could just not stay away from redoing them. And I think that gives us an interesting thing to talk about with either one of them. Like, do you remember how poorly these things aged?
Yeah, because anytime anybody brings up any of these 2 movies, I'm like, no, I don't like those. Wait, I do. I don't like the shit that came
I like the
afterwards.
first one.
Yeah.
You know what? And I'll even go so far as to say I liked the second Men in Black. I thought
The Balchinian movie.
Yeah, the
The
Balchinian movie.
Chance the Rapper referenced Balchinian movie.
Yeah, I thought that the Balchinian
That-
movie was fine.
Men in Black 2 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I think you're wrong.
Dude,
they
have
they
you
do
seen
the
a
whole
mo-
thing with the pizza?
Have you seen a movie called Men in Black 3?
I heard that one was okay.
No, Men in Black 3 is one of the worst movies of all time.
Yeah, so I think the second one was great.
we did Naked Gun last season, and I think it was a good episode.
Yeah, for
and it's
sure.
a good movie. It scared me before we went into the studio. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do this, and we did it. Austin Powers scares me more. Men in Black is, I think, it harkens back to a time where like we have this thing now where like we go see blockbusters knowing that we won't like them, and I think that Men in Black is a large step above that. Where like it actually is really good.
And do you think that we're going to get in there and really, like, it's going to give us a lot to chew on? Because I kind of feel like Austin Powers being situated in the history of, like, the spy genre and being a parody of that. When we talked about Naked Gun, it was a parody of, like, these cop shows and cop movies.
Right.
And that gave us a little bit of, like, grip to, like, talk, gave us footing. I feel like Austin Powers provides that in a way that maybe Men in Black 2 doesn't quite.
Well, we're not doing Men in Black 2.
Okay, we will never do Men in Black 2.
And it's a good point. And the other thing too is which star do we want to dive into? Is it the mentality of Will Smith or Mike Myers? Because those are two very interesting careers and actors.
Different rides, man, and think where each man is now in relation to where he was then. Because both movies did boffo in the box office, had great critical reception, and Will Smith somehow still chugging along. I mean, that Gemini Man movie that's coming out, I'm there. I'm going to go see
Will Smith v. Will Smith.
Could you imagine a movie where it was Mike Myers v. Mike Myers, and it was not a Shrek vehicle?
The Love Guru versus the Love Guru?
Yeah. Austin Powers versus the Love Guru.
When I look at the stamp on history and today, and I'm not saying it's a good stamp or a bad stamp, I'm just saying how big the stamp is. Men in Black feels like it did really good stuff that we're trying to create, and Austin Powers was good, and now we stay away from it. Now we're very nervous about it.
Well, I'm going to call for the vote here, so I hope you guys have done some thinking. What is going to be the last movie covered in the 1997 movie of the year? Keep in mind, you guys, this is an important decision because this is the movie that we're going to immediately disregard when we do our final show where we actually pick the winner. This is going to be the one that gets dunked all over.
Also, could we enter into the Patreon list Men in Black 2 versus Spy Who Shagged Me?
Honestly, we can put any two movies against each other on that list, and they're never going to make it because there's no way we're watching two movies to do one of those shows. We love you, Patreon listeners, but please give us a break. Give us a fucking break. Taylor, what's it going to be? What's moving forward? Men in Black or Austin Powers?
I'm going to say Men in Black.
Ryan, what's it going to be?
Men in Black for sure.
Yeah, I guess this does feel like the right answer. Austin Powers, I think I would have looked forward to watching more.
Right.
But Men in Black had a bigger footprint. I think that its action comedy did kind of influence the
Men in Black got me in trouble when I was 7.
Really?
Yeah, because I was sitting in a swing.
Did you duck the memory laser?
I was sitting on a swing when I was a small child, and I had just watched that movie, and I went, "Man, this is bullshit." Because that was the thing that I heard Will Smith say, and I didn't know that it was bad, and so I got in trouble because a kid tattled on me.
How old were you again?
I was 5 at that point. Yeah,
I think
5 or 6.
I think at that point you just got to be like, this kid's cool.
But yeah, to be fair,
nothing you can do.
Every time you said this is bullshit, you made up for it later with "I make this look good," and that's a cool 5-year-old.
Yeah.
I was unsure about Titanic. I'm glad that it's there, but I wasn't stoked about it. I didn't think Men in Black would make it to the Elite 8, but I actually am glad. I think it's an important 97 movie.
Yeah, I think we'll enjoy doing it. I think we would have a real empty feeling right now if Austin Powers was the movie that we were going to be covering.
We'd feel like Mike Myers today.
Yeah.
Well, that is the end of that round. Let me tell you your winners, your movies that are in contention for 1997 Movie of the Year. It's Titanic, L.A. Confidential, Boogie Nights, Jackie Brown, Good Will Hunting, Contact, Princess Mononoke, and Men in Black.
I only know one thing for sure. Good Will Hunting, get the fuck out of here. The other 7, they could all win.
Men in Black can probably beat Good Will Hunting.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some of the matchups, and I know we're not supposed to get too into this, but Boogie Nights and Jackie Brown are against each other.
Come on,
in the next
guys.
round.
What are
That's
we doing
fucked
here?
up. That's deeply fucked up. That's the winner of that is probably 97's Movie of the Year.
Yeah. Fuck. Unless it's Men in Black. Who knows?
This format, I think, makes it interesting because stuff like that happens. At some point, you have to decide. Everybody in their life has to decide which movie is better.
You only want a format that makes you upset in 7 different ways.
Yeah.
I am there right now.
Well, we hope you enjoy the 1997 season of Movie of the Year. I know we will. That's all we've got for this show. For Ryan, I'm Greg. For Greg, I'm Taylor. This has been Movie of the Year, and we love you!